Virginia.
Hi, I'm Nanette, and welcome to the Lively Office. Stick with us today while we talk about the subject of why people dread Mondays.
Yes, why they dread Mondays. I fully understand that and remember a time frame in my life where I would have nausea on Sunday just thinking about Monday. That is no way to live.
The Sunday night dread of the next morning.
Yes, the absolute. It was rough, Nanette. I had moments there where I would wake up on Sunday morning, recognize that it's Sunday and already start like a weird countdown, like I had this many more hours of pleasure left. I'm like, I've got this many more hours, this many more hours. It was almost like a countdown to death.
Well, I felt like I also tried to put in as many things as I could in the weekend because you only have a limited amount of time. And during the week, you're exhausted. So you don't want to do all the fun things with your family. So okay. I would try to I would be stressed on the weekend trying to get as much fun in as I could.
Yeah, see, and I tried all different kinds of crazy things to get through it, to make the most of it. And I think it all boiled down to the fact that I was trying to live a life. I'm trying to live a life that's worth living instead of feeling like I'm on this hamster wheel that's just going and I'm running. It doesn't matter how fast I run, I'm going. And it felt like that for so long. And I think it feels that way for so many people, that we got to come up with ways to get through it, which I came up with ways, you've come up with ways. And we found this great article, well, a couple of articles that have some ideas and some points that they're trying to make on why people dread Mondays and what can you do about it. So there's some solutions we agree with, some that we don't, but we're going to delve into that conversation today at the Lively Office.
Yeah, so one of the articles that I looked up or found was the HuffPost. Experts explain why Mondays are so psychologically hard. And I thought it was really interesting. 20% more heart attacks, they say, are on Mondays. And that we looked that up and trying to find where that stat came from. It was in several different places internationally. There's a lot of people quoting that stat. I don't know where that stat comes from, but
yeah, there's no reference point. So it's how valid is the stat? Or is it what is that called? Words are not coming to me. Little ghost story about the witch neighbor.
Oh, so it's a myth, urban myth. An urban myth. Is that ding, ding, ding? Is that the word you're going for? That's not that hard of a word, Virginia.
I'm not sure why I can't communicate tonight, but it's not there. Maybe by the time I'm at the end of this coffee cup, I'll figure it out. Yeah, so maybe the 20% is a myth. It's got to have come from somewhere. I personally had a difficult time trying to find that stat. So if you're listening to this podcast and you know where that stat came from, please share with us. We found
we found 10 different people that quoted that stat though. So it has to come from somewhere.
Yeah, it came from somewhere. So unless it just kept perpetuating the lie.
That's how urban myths work though. I also thought it was really interesting in this article. They listed all the Monday morning songs or the Monday songs like Manic Monday by the Bangles and I Don't Like Mondays by the Boomtown Rats, and I'm dying to know who the Boomtown Rats are because that's
I don't know, but I'm finding that one on my music app. I'm gonna try to listen to that.
And then Rainy Days and Mondays, most people know that by the Carpenters, and Monday by the Mamas and the Papas. I mean, there's a lot of songs made about Monday, so it's arguably has the fewest fans. Yeah, it's true. And then they talk about the psychological side of it. So that your body's natural rhythm is messed up. And I can agree with that.
Why is that though? Why would your natural rhythm? Oh, I guess it's because Monday through Friday, it's really then the weekend that's the problem, not Monday. Because Monday through Friday, you're having to do the schedule for your job. And then on the weekend, like you said, you're powering it down with activities and you're filling it up or you're staying up. So maybe that's the rhythm that's messed up.
It has to be because for me on weekends, I would stay up as late as possible to get as much in as I had to because I didn't have to get up the next morning. And then you automatically sleep in a little bit later than what you would normally get up. And then you cram as much as you can in there. And then Monday morning, you got to start with the schedule again. So it's got to mess your system up a little bit.
For sure. It definitely has to do that. I know. Imagine being a night shift worker too. Props to anyone listening to this on the night shift. We love you. We recognize how hard it is to work that is against your natural rhythm. So what else does the article say about why people just dread Mondays, besides the obvious that maybe you don't love your job?
The next one they have is you've lost a sense of freedom. And amen to that, because on the weekday, somebody's telling you what to do 24/7. And on the weekend, it's just like party, whatever you want to do. You get a little more choice. So,
and not even just party, just general stuff. Like hey, sometimes I just want to sit down and read a book. And if you feel like you can't do it on Monday through Friday, or learn a new task or do something for self-improvement, you do feel a loss of freedom. And I think that's a horrible way to live. I'll be honest. I think that's a big ticket item for me.
What, loss of freedom during the week?
Loss of freedom. Yeah. I think employers would benefit if they had the capability. And I recognize that this doesn't happen all the time for every job, and I get it, I'm not unreasonable, but if you have the ability to have scheduling where like the work gets done and you allow people some kind of freedom in their life, like flex hours or something of that nature, flex shifts, I think that companies would be better for it and people would appreciate them more, because I think it's a big ticket item. I hate personally feeling like I am a robot or a number for a company, and that my sole purpose is just to be a breathing person. Oh, as long as they breathe. That's like such a non-human, non-value thing to say about your employees. So I think that for me personally, that sense of freedom, I'd like to know that if an event comes up spontaneously, like school systems, I hate to say that, they suck at telling you when they're having events for your kids. It's thanks for the 4-second warning that you're having some midday school event. So I want to be this participating parent, but you clearly think that we're all home doing nothing.
And you always get the note the night before,
Yeah, and it's like, what the heck is that? And a lot of times I remember hounding my children, like, what the heck? You had to have known this earlier. And they're like, no, they just told us today. And I believe it. So like their lack of planning turns around and it impacts you as a parent who wants to participate in your children's lives. And then you turn around and then you have resentment, a problem your job didn't create, like the school did. And now I have resentment toward my job because I want to be there, but I can't be. And that puts pressure on people. It puts pressure on me. So for me personally, the sense of freedom is a huge dread. Not only why I hate Mondays, it would be why I hate Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Fridays too.
Yeah. And if you have a good team and if your employer builds a good team, I think that sometimes you have a good environment. Your employees your coworkers are going to step up for you if the managers and the leaders have built that culture where everybody's helping each other, and they could be more free. Some managers, I believe, think they can't be free with a schedule, but if they create the right culture, I believe they could be. They're just so closed-minded to it. I think the work's not going to get done. But I remember, like being in Florida, we have storms and hurricanes all the time. And in a lot of the jobs I worked at, when there's crisis or there even like a family fire, and people chip in for stuff like that, and they overwork to compensate for their coworkers when they're in those kind of situations. And if you can create the right culture as a manager, you're not going to have to worry about that employee that wants to take off to go to their school event. And I think they forget that. They're so focused on, we got to get the work done and everybody has to work the same and let's be all robots, that they forget that we're a team and you spend a lot of your time there. It's like a work family.
Exactly. No, that's a perfect way of saying it. You're absolutely right. It's a work family. I remember working in a very specific office, and I made that a mission in my life to have that culture. We were a very small office. There was just a handful of us. And I'm telling you, after building trust in that environment and getting everyone on the same page, it really turned out to be this like magnificent office. It was like we just all had each other's back for all things. And then if somebody felt like somebody else was taking advantage of it, then it was just my responsibility to bring that back in. Okay, listen, going through the desk model, trying to communicate with them, it feels like you're taking advantage of us. And the team feels that you're taking advantage of us because you're having such an extraordinary amount of need, and just having those hard conversations, and it worked. And it were very much like a family, and it mattered. And I think that built bonds, to be perfectly honest, that's lasted years. I haven't been in that environment in nearly 10 years. And those people still matter to me, and they know that they still matter to me. We still communicate today.
The next one on the list is you don't love your job.
Yeah. Yeah, I said that already.
Yeah, that's hard to fix that one though. It's really hard to fix that one because it's a mindset.
So you don't have to love your job, people. You don't have to love your job. You have to change your thought process, and you have to look at it in a sense of gratitude. Okay. I've had jobs that I don't love, but I appreciate the fact that I have the employment, that I have the benefits. I appreciate the fact that I get to pay my bills, and just looking at it for what it does give you and bring your family. You can at least appreciate it, even if you don't love it, but it is a reason to dread Monday. And at that point, it just really depends on you as an individual. What are you going to do to change the way you feel? That's a whole nother topic.
It talks about why they don't love their job, whether it's a demanding boss, an unfriendly coworker, feelings of anxiety and depression because of the stress load and the workload that you have to face on Monday morning. So those are the reasons that they don't love their job. And I thought that was really interesting. And demanding boss and unfriendly coworkers. So they might love their work, but it's the environment that they're not liking.
Okay, so that's understandable. That's relatable.
And you didn't prepare for the day. So what does it mean by that? Another reason why Mondays can be especially hard for some people is that they may not have prepared for the start of the week. This can include emotional and logistical preparations. I don't even know what that means. I never prepare for Monday. I just go in there.
Maybe some people probably do that. I'm sure they do. We're so similar in that, listen, I don't prepare for jack. Okay, let's just be honest. And when I do prepare for something, it's usually like a task, a goal. Like I had this task and I'm preparing for it. But like, how do you prepare just to roll in there on Monday outside of maybe packing your lunch and washing your clothes? I don't know. Everyone's different. It's difficult for me to understand that.
Yeah, because I don't want to touch work on the weekend at all. Like, and if I got to actually prepare the night before, that's work to me, other than dressing myself.
Agreed. So like, yeah, I don't know if I agree with this article about that being a reason to dread Monday, preparing for the day.
Didn't prepare for the day.
I mean, that could be any day. That doesn't have to be Monday.
No, unless on Friday you just like you were out at 5 minutes till closing time and didn't finish everything up that you were supposed to. Then maybe it could be dreadful on Monday morning. I'm not gonna lie, I've done that before. Like I've got something going on with the kids or something going on Friday night. I'm like, peace out, and I'm out. And then maybe I didn't do everything, tidy everything up like I should have. So Monday morning I may dread because I got stuff to do left over from Friday. But as far as preparing for the day on Sunday night, nope, not happening.
Yeah, no, not doing it. Now, I do like the thing that the article is saying about our culture. It tells us to hate Mondays. I do think that here in the US, that there is like some kind of corporate America thing that, oh, Mondays. And it's in movies. I remember, I love this movie. Shout out to these people who made the movie Office Space. And that was so hilarious. That scene where they're like, looks like someone's got the case of the Mondays. It's like, you want to flick that guy. You want to smack him, but you get it. So I do believe that our culture tells us to hate Mondays. So I did agree with that piece of the article. What's your thoughts on that?
I agree. And even the songs go back to the Mondays. You know, Manic Monday, I hate Mondays. But there's been some Mondays, I'm not going to lie, that I loved my job so much at that time that I looked forward to Mondays because I felt like it was like a new week to do more stuff. I don't know. There has been times where I have actually looked forward to Mondays, especially if something new and exciting was coming in.
I'll say this. Sometimes when your weekend at home is full of housework or that kind of thing, I've had moments where I can't wait to go back to work to do something with my brain and not physical labor.
That's true. But I mean, there's exciting projects. And I do believe the culture, that is true. The culture, I think everybody loves to hate on something. So Mondays get the bad rap. Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, poor Mondays. Poor Mondays. I mean, I was born on a Monday, so I love you, Monday.
I'm a Monday girl too. That's crazy. So the next one on the list is your work-life balance is poor. And all
Yeah.
I've got to say is I've suffered from that extremely, especially at the height of my career. I felt like when I was taking steps up and trying to get promoted, I felt like it was full on work 24/7. I wanted to just push. And my life suffered from that because I was so tired and exhausted when I did get home that there was definitely wasn't any balance there. But I felt as a mother, I was doing it. I was trying to get that promotion to help my family. So I justified it that way.
No, and I think a lot of people probably do that with the work-life balance. And I think it's difficult in some jobs to even have the work-life balance just because some jobs are just so important. It's not just a 9 to 5 type role. So I do see where that can be a hindrance. And I guess at that point, that's when what makes it worth it in a degree is if you have leadership that understands it and recognizes what you're sacrificing, because that's a sacrifice. That's an absolute sacrifice. I'm going to go ahead and thank all the doctors that got out of bed to help birth my children who only wanted to come in at night. Thank you. I'm sure I didn't contribute to your work-life balance. We appreciate you. And that is the key. When you have leadership who appreciates you, or family who appreciates you, or people who appreciate you, and they express that, they can't just appreciate you in their head. I feel like you have to express that, and it needs to be genuine, because I know I'm going to be the first one there to give my 24/7 in a situation of chaos or an emergency. And my family is just going to have to understand that I have a responsibility to be there. But at the end of that, it's nice to know that your boss or the leadership recognizes that, hey, you just gave up 2-3 days and you didn't see your family to take care of XYZ emergency. And I see you. And I think that we want to be seen. I think we want to be heard. And I think that's a big piece that people miss. And obviously a contributor to dread Mondays.
I was trying to figure out how that specifically applied to Mondays, but here what it says is going hard all week without breaks and nothing to look forward to can wear on the mind and the body. And even if Sunday was the break, it wasn't enough to help the person feel ready to dive into the work week again. Mm-hmm. So indeed, the Mondays might be a sign of burnout. I've heard that word a lot lately.
So have I. It's like the go-to word right now.
Yeah, I think people are feeling that. I think it's one of the reasons they have the Great Resignation, because people are feeling that burnout at their jobs. Yeah. The next one is you have social anxiety. I'm trying to figure out how that applies to Monday. Would Monday be different than the rest of the week? Because you're with your family all weekend?
Maybe. What does it dive into it more about that?
It says struggling with Mondays can be linked to feeling anxiety about all the work on your plate. But social anxiety may also be at play. This includes anxiety about being forced to interact with others and being in an environment where you're compared to them. Oh, so like the comparison factor. Am I good enough? And so it's more like a performance kind of thing, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know how that relates to Mondays. So
no, because it would seem like it'd be every day.
So whoever wrote this article, tell me more.
Well, at the very end of this little section, it says on Sunday evening, we can begin to ruminate on that.
I guess so. I think a lot of it's just like this big bowl of all these different things that you're putting in, and you're just building it up, and you're building it up on Sunday, knowing that you just got off of these 2 days of getting to do what you want to do and having total control of your life. So I think you're mixing this up. Like, you don't care about your job. You don't have the freedom. You didn't prepare for the day. Culture tells you to hate it. And the work-life balance. I think you're just making this crazy anxiety salad for lunch on Monday.
The next one is transitions are hard for you. I mean, that plays into money for sure, because you're transitioning from the weekend where you have your freedom and you can make your choices and be with your family. That would make sense to me. It says for children of divorced parents, many times they need to switch houses on Mondays, and those transitions can be hard for both kids and parents. I never thought about it from a blended family point of view. For people in long distance relationships, Mondays can represent saying goodbye to their partner until the coming weekend, and that can feel very depressing. And I can relate to that.
I want to point out though that I'm going to say Monday, and I'm also going to say your Monday, because not everybody has weekends off. So it's like this translates to whatever your Monday is, whatever your break is in the week, because there's a lot of people who actually work through the weekend. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I loved to work through the weekend and have days off during the week.
Me
Personally,
too.
I was all about it. As long as there were 2 in a row, I was feeling great because there's just a different vibe in the air on the weekend. It's more tolerable.
It
Maybe
really
higher
is more
energy.
tolerable. Yeah.
It's like a higher energy or something. It ties back to the whole sense of freedom. You're living for the weekend because you feel like you're not in control Monday through Friday. And there's just
Right.
so much on that topic that I look forward to the future podcast, having some of this discussion and getting some feedback from our listeners on how they handle these things. We have to work and we're not all in our dream job. So what are the things that we can do to get through the day and still enjoy life?
I found another article that was written by Alan Swartz, and it was from mentalhelp.net. And they actually had affirmations on there, and there's a whole list of affirmations to try to get yourself through it. I've just started affirmations recently, so I'm not going to read them all, but I thought it was an interesting approach to surviving Mondays. And then another one they have on here is getting up and getting a little bit of time to yourself before you get in there. So you can read peacefully. It's a slow adjust period, like getting in the pool gradually rather than jumping all into the cold water.
I think that works because that's like when you're running late to work and you just run and you clock in and go and you're already angst now. So if you get in there early and you chill and you're like, hey, and get your cup of coffee and relax and gradually get in there. I'm going to say that I agree. That's a great way to reduce Monday stress. I totally agree with that. I've tried it. Now, normally I'm always running in there, sliding in sideways.
Sliding inside. Yeah, I'm trying to think about how, because I used to have the mindset that if I sat there and actually was quiet and had that peaceful moment, that was almost wasting time. I know that sounds weird, but I had that concept. Like I was just sitting here drinking coffee, looking at this sunrise. Like I could be doing crap. And I think maybe that's just a multitasking mother at work, like thinking about that I had a hard time doing that. I get how it would work. And I'm learning to do that now later in life. But when I was younger, I was just like, go. And anytime I sat still, I felt like I was wasting time. So that was hard.
I think because when you're younger, you have this concept of a timeline that you're fulfilling. And right now, living in this like amazing era where people are recognizing just the smallest things.
Yeah.
They're recognizing values and peace and human emotion. We're in this era of self-reflection and it's resonating where people are loving it. Now, I don't know if corporate America is loving it, but I know that individuals are loving it, which I also think is a contributing factor to the Great Resignation. I saw this visual today that was interesting, and it was like a hill on a bike Monday through Friday. And at Friday, you're at the top of the hill where it was like a struggle all week. And then Saturday, Sunday was going down the hill just to repeat that circle. And I just feel like there's this constant message going on right now that we were just meant for more. And I believe that a lot of people are feeling that. And I appreciate it. I get it. So we're just living in this great time where you can have both, is what I'm trying to say.
I think people are more focused, especially during the pandemic. People got to learn what their values were and they enjoyed that time with their family, had the opportunity.
You take that opportunity to have this great reflection of what matters in your life. And I think that when you're saying that about yourself when you're younger, about wasting time that way, the environment was different back then.
It was.
The environment that was like the push was work hard, get what you get. And you were just following that narrative. And now it just seems like people are recognizing like, well, hey, I want to sit back and enjoy that sunset. And I think that's why we appreciate it now.
I agree. The next one I have on the list is once work starts, and if you are able, focus on the easy tasks first while gradually working up to those more difficult and challenging tasks. That's a way to cope with Mondays.
I think to a small degree, okay, but I don't like tackling things that way because when I am tackling any work in that method, it's because I'm just struggling with the hard task and I'm avoiding it. I recognize that avoiding a task is terrible. It leads to like severe procrastination. It leads to late night work hours and stress because instead of just taking care of what you needed to take care of, you're taking care of all these things that don't matter. I still think you should always prioritize what needs to be done.
I guess they said easy task, not necessary task. What they're saying is, this is my guess because I'm not the writer, but if you prioritize, like you said, And instead of picking the hardest one first, you have 3 things you have to get done that day. You pick the easiest one first, you get it done, and you get that sense of progress. So
Okay.
it gets you moving in that right direction. And because there's sometimes when I'm dreading a task and I just keep procrastinating, I like that feeling of being able to accomplish something. Now, and I don't know that it's always productive. So I'll just keep doing those tasks because progress makes you feel like you can check something off.
I guess the point of this article was just trying to focus on getting over your dread for Monday. But
Right.
are you now making the rest of your week more difficult because you did it that way? Just be cautious if that's the avenue, a solution that you take if you're trying to get over a Monday dread. I think ultimately to reduce stress on Monday, my mom always says this, why you take things so seriously. And that's like the wisdom of somebody in their 70s, recognizing that they went their whole life doing the same things that you and I are doing and that people are doing, and recognizing that in the end, it really doesn't matter. So why are you taking it so seriously? Stop taking it so seriously. And you helped me once with this idea of what's the worst can happen. I can't remember where you told me you learned that from.
It was a book, but I can't remember what book. I'll have to find that. We'll have to put that in the comments. Start from where the worst thing that could possibly happen and work your way back, and it'll get rid of the anxiety. Because once you can accept what the worst is that could happen and you come to terms with that, everything else is easier.
I have to tell you that I think that's beautiful. Like I needed that 20 years ago because I incessantly worry. Like I worry and I create scenarios in my head constantly every single day. Have affirmations, talk to myself, say things, meditate to not worry. I was born to worry. I actually
Born to
I
worry.
read it on my birthday book. It was one of the things. It was like worry. I was, yeah, that's true. And I don't want to be this way because I recognize it's not good. It's not a good character trait. It's not something that I'm proud of, but it is something that I daily work on. And I think that I'm getting better. And that method that you shared with me, I feel that's almost the answer to everything. What's the worst that can happen? And then if you just try to come to a resolve with it and then recognize that you have the capability to get over this, you've gotten over more difficult things that you didn't have enough time to think about. Here you have time to think about it so you can get over it. And even though you're in this job that may not be your dream job, you still can find value in it. And if it's that awful, then just get up and change. Get up and do something if it's this unbearable, because we only have this life. And the one thing we all have the same amount of is time. If we don't have purpose in what we're doing, that's a big contributor to Monday stress. Like if I'm going into a job that I don't feel has a purpose outside of making my employer rich, then maybe I'm going to have higher stress on a Monday because I recognize that this job is so irrelevant. It's not contributing in any way to society. I want to have purpose in what I'm doing.
I guess I've had a couple of jobs like that. In those situations, if I have employees under me, I try to be the support for them because they're having to work too. They have a family to support. So if, instead of looking at it like I'm just trying to help the boss make money, at least I can be a supportive boss
Like
for
a
the
shield.
like a shield. Yeah, almost like a shield. And also the customers. Sometimes the customers can be like the devil reincarnate, but then there's also the customers that you really connect with and you help them and you find that spot and you just, oh my gosh, you made my day today. And even though they had a problem, you were able to solve it, or even if they had a complaint and they do it the right way and they're receptive to how you do it, then it makes you feel good too. And those jobs that I really hated, I always tried to find something good that I could focus on and some value I could add to somebody's life, even if it wasn't about the job.
I have to say that I've only really had 1 or 2 jobs that I actually hated the job, because it's never really the job that
Agreed.
you hate. It's so much the leadership or wannabe leadership or bosses, because I hate using that term so broadly, because a lot of people just think because they're the CEO or the founder or in a manager role that they're leadership. No, I'm sorry. I'm not granting you that crown of leadership. Is your ability to influence people to follow you, and you commanding or instilling fear on people. You're not a leader. And so if you're listening to this and that hurts, that's good. That means there's still a heart in there and there's a chance for you. So let it hurt a little bit. because you, as a leader, you have a responsibility to take care of your employees, to take care of the people under your charge. And that means sometimes, sacrificing. You're the one who eats last. And that's the role that you've chosen. And it comes with a bunch of blessings. So I think that in every job that I couldn't stand, it wasn't really the job. It was the fact that I could enjoy this job and this work because I knew what I was doing. Just tell me what my goals were. Tell me what's the end result and then let me do it. Stop sticking your face in it, thinking that you have a better way to do it. And because if you did know a better way to do it, then get up in here and do it. And half the time they can't. And that's the real frustration, is that you put these people in charge based on networking or who they know or just some damn degree. And I have degrees, so I get it, but they didn't earn the right to be there. And they don't recognize the responsibility. There's an honor in being in a role like that and recognizing the impact that you have on people. Monday stress wasn't always about Monday. It was a lot about the people. You quit the people.
That's true. That's so true. And if I look back in the jobs that I hated, it was in the jobs that I didn't have the support, or I had somebody micromanaging every step that I took and didn't give me the freedom to make the choices for my employees or for myself.
And then they're micromanaging because they have this perception of you, of something that they think you did or didn't do or don't understand. And it ultimately falls down on their responsibility for failing to communicate that need. I'm going to say this, and this is really going to sting. And I hope
I know what you're going to say.
Yes, it's like your employee's failure is a direct reflection of your leadership. I'm just going to say it one more time. The failure of your employees is a direct relationship to your leadership. So if they're failing, it's because you're not giving them what they need to succeed. That's just the way it is. You like it, you don't like it. I have said that to people over and over again, and I've had it spoon fed back to me in certain situation, and it hurt. But I loved the fact that somebody used those words against me once, and I was like, bam, you are right. And it changed everything for me. It changed everything with me and this individual, where at the end of it, giving this person what they needed to be successful, what they needed is the key word. Yeah. Not what I need, not my version of it. What they needed was so amazing, because they turned out to be this powerhouse of an employee that I can't live without.
We're so excited about leadership. We got totally off Mondays. But if you have good leaders, maybe you want to come to work on Monday, right? Maybe that'll take away that Monday sting.
Absolutely. Some of the things we want to do before we wrap up is share some of your stories with us using hashtag Monday Sucks. And where can we share those?
You can go to our Instagram at The Lively Office. We're also on Facebook, and we do have a LinkedIn if you like to visit there. And our website at www.thelivelyoffice.com. You can go there and check out our resources and our membership site. We're grateful you're here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And we look forward to our next topic. Have a lovely night.